The Jaguar I-Pace doesn't have an engine. What it does have is a 90 kWh lithium-ion battery with around 85 kWh usable energy. This drives 2 electric motors, and it's currently the only size battery available for the I-Pace. It feels exceedingly quick though, with 396 brake horsepower and 696 Nm of torque. From standstill, it can get to 100 km/h in just 4.8 seconds. So let's give it a little blip and see what happens. It has an official range of around 450 kilometers, but we never saw more than about 415. While it is possible to charge it at up to 100 kilowatts, it's more likely that you're going to find a 50 kilowatt charger available, and this will take around 90 minutes to get the battery from 10 to 80%. It really impresses on a twisty road, with poise and responsive handling. Along with Audi's e-tron GT, it beats most other widely available EVs for fun. It gives driving enthusiasts a hope that electric doesn't mean a mundane A to B. The I-Pace weighs over 2 tons though, and it's impressive for an SUV. It feels more like a sports car to drive. The steering quickly weights up in corners, and it gives you plenty of feedback and therefore enjoyment. It stays flat and poised during quick changes of direction, and this in part is due to the suspension, which is similar to that of the Jaguar F-Type. The regenerative braking ability means you don't need to use the brakes as much, which feels soft when you first press the pedal, and then they strangely firm up a little bit too. The point of all this is to harvest the kinetic energy and place it all back into the battery. It's intuitive, and once you get used to braking like this, it's possible to drive the I-Pace with just one pedal most of the time. Personally, using regenerative braking constantly leaves a slightly seasick feeling if you take your foot off the pedal too quickly, but sometimes it's possible to learn very gently to adjust the level of braking, and luckily it's not too heavy on the I-Pace. The Touch Pro Duo infotainment system is accessed via a 10-inch infotainment touchscreen on the dashboard, and there's a smaller 5-inch screen beneath it in the centre console. This new system was first seen in the Land Rover Defender. At first, it can occasionally feel tricky when adjusting the settings. There are several layers of menus to troll through, and there's no haptic feedback. But the brand's latest Pivi Pro infotainment allows you to connect 2 phones over the Bluetooth at the same time, and the sat-nav shows the nearest charging stations and costs involved. It also gets a configurable multifunction steering wheel with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. Smart settings use AI to learn your preferences for climate control, seat position, radio stations. And if you use the smart charging, you can preset when the car begins and ends charging during the cheapest hours. The top spec model cabins are swathed in leather, polished wood and aluminium trim. The driving position is excellent, and the amount of adjustment in the seat and steering wheel mean you can get the seat quite low if you so choose, with the steering wheel up high and close to your chest for that race-like feel. The cabin is bright and airy. There's a real sense of space inside, and with an optional panoramic roof, it's even more so. The interior has a total of 3 12-volt sockets and 6 USB ports, as well as storage trays under the rear seats. There's also plenty of headroom, and no transmission tunnel means the middle rear seat is more comfortable than it is in conventional cars. The I-Pace has from 557 litres of space with the seats up, to around 1,453 litres of boot space with the rear seats folded down. With the rear seats out of the way, the boot is totally flat, making it easy to slide in long or awkward objects. The front space under the bonnet has around 27 litres of space, which is big enough to store the charging cables, but not much else. The I-Pace looks really fantastic with eye-catching design, great road presence, and the proportions are all superb. This squat, muscular stance and short overhangs give it an appealing and athletic look. The flat floor and lack of an engine means the Jaguar I-Pace is surprisingly practical and crammed with handy storage solutions. It's bigger than it first appears and shares a very similar footprint to an Audi Q5 in terms of size. The I-Pace has a long wheelbase of 3000mm, which means they've created plenty of space for passengers inside. Jaguar easily matches the I-Pace's beautifully designed exterior, with a suave and refined cabin that boasts a gorgeous dashboard and ample passenger space. While the front seats are nicely bolstered, they're not the most comfortable on prolonged trips. The bumpy design is a little unforgiving. The cabin features all the creature comforts you could want, including 4-zone climate control, a head-up display, heated front seats, various choices of leather upholstery and so much more. Its cubby storage is also highlighted by a versatile floating console that features a useful bin under the armrest and a tray below it. The driver assist tech includes automatic high beams, blind spot monitoring, a 360-degree camera, adaptive cruise control and steering assist, as well as many more. You can increase the range in a cold day by drawing energy from the mains while the car is plugged in too. The InControl remote app ensures the most efficiency by remotely heating or cooling the interior before you set off. While it's slow to charge when you don't have a fast charger to hand, the 2022 I-Pace proves that EVs can be excellent and luxurious fun. The sensation of weight is always present, and this is especially true when regenerating energy, but the battery pack and the all-wheel drive capability provides a low centre of gravity that gives the electrified Jag an extra dose of agility and stability.